So my presentation is about JHipster, and my use case is a simple one is generating monolithic full stack application. There's a lot of content, a lot of points to go on, and I might not be able to talk about everything, and I might go fast on some topics. So if you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask after, or check out my GitHub repo. All the demonstration and the presentation are in there. Okay, so let's go. So just a little bit about me. I'm a software engineer, technical lead and solution architect for a consulting firm. I work principally on professionally and personally on projects with the French government currently. So about JHipster. JHipster is a code generator. It's a cross-platform Java-based web application framework. It was initiated by Julien Dubois in 2013. So there's a few links that you may want to check, the YouTube channel, the main website, the presentation, some of it I'm going to talk about, some not. The main team, so is Julien Dubois. He's the project lead. He's also the manager of Java advocacy at Microsoft right now. And the other two co-lead are Deepu and Pascal Grimaud. And there are over like 100 contributors and more main contributors than that. The sponsors are, I have to do a bit talk about it, like Okta is a gold sponsor. You have the Octo Consulting Group, the Micro Frontend, Nintendo platform for communities, and DataSax. And I may check on this link. Actually, this better. Well, this tool is used like by major company like Google, HBO, Heroku, BNP, Carrefour, a lot of French company. Well, it's made by Frenchmen, so I'm a bit chauvinist on that, but it's okay. Moving on, my presentation. So the project has more than 18,000 stars on GitHub, 3.74K forks, 9.2K pull requests, and like 113K downloads per week. So it's a pretty huge and really used project. It has major contribution and major community. It has over 600 contributors. So the main point is, why should you use JHipster? It's completely free and open source. They're not making money by making JHipster. There is a huge community with world-class contributors. Basically, the application is just about create, build, and deploy a production-ready web application. It's like days of work reduced to hours. It has a great up-to-date website with documentation, and the generated code by the framework is documented and follow industry best practice. You have numerous resources, tutorials, books, videos on it, so you can find your joy. So what do you want more? It has like a microservice architecture deployment. It has security and authentication, CI/CD pipelines generation, QA best practice, SQL, NoSQL, graph database supports, highly used tools like Elasticsearch, Kafka, Prometheus, Grafana, bundled inside the framework. It generates REST API following the OAS specification. You can do monitoring, caching, logging, and containerization out of the box. And it's already cloud-ready deployments on AWS, GCP, Azure, OpenShift, Heroku, and Cloud Foundry, and more. So what we have on the client side, it's a single-based application. Although you can do also timely server-side rendering. You have the top three major framework and library front, like Angular, React, and Vue.js, fully supported from the version 7 of JHipster. It has SaaS support, modern browsers compatibility, internalization out of the box, usage of HTML5 boilerplate, And it has also, it integrates responsive design with Bootstrap theme. It's a Bootstrap-based themes for JHipster. You don't have to use it, of course. You can do your own CSS and even use Tailwind. You do whatever you want once it's generated with your code. On the server side, it's major Java and Spring Boot backend. So you have Spring Profile, one for the dev, for the prod, Spring Security, Spring Data JPA, Spring MVC REST, Spring Reactive with Webflux, Jackson serialization, and database versioning with Liquibase, which is really awesome because you can do a lot of stuff with that, even though it demands a lot of knowledge about ORM and stuff. So now it's time for demo. So it's going to be live. It may some stuff may happen. I mean, I'm going to do some coding, not coding, but like command line generation stuff. So it might crash, it might blow up. We'll see. So I have I already in one day I done a full stack application that will be available, and it's fully deployed on the cloud with all of the things I'm going to talk about. I'm just not gonna do the whole thing again, but I'm going to take some part of it and explain. So let's check that. The project generation first. So what you have to do, you go into, you don't know JHipster. So you go to the JHipster, right? You don't know it. You need to have Java installed, and then you just you go into a folder and you type JHipster, and then it's gonna ask you a few questions about what you want to do. Do you want to do a monolithic application, a gateway application, microservice? I will just put it maybe a bit, just so everybody can read. Gateway application, microservice application. So we're going to go for monolithic application. What is the base name of your application? Well, we're going to go with to do demo. Okay, I don't want to use Webflux. My default package name will be io.gbloch.todo-demo. And what you want to do as an authentication, there you have a choice there between JWT, OAuth, and HTTP session authentication. We're just going to go with JWT simple authentication. For the database, we have a choice between NoSQL, SQL, graph database like Neo4j, or no database though, if you don't need. So I'm going to go with SQL and choose Postgre. For development, you can use H2, so you don't have persistence. It's just going to be in memory, but I prefer to use Postgre also, so I can just tweak with it. As the cache, for the Spring cache, we have a lot of choice. You have EHCache, Caffeine, Hazelcache, Memcache, Redis. I'm just going to go with EHCache and no second level Hibernate cache because it's not needed for a simple application. For the build tool, we have, well, as for Java main, you use either Maven, Gradle, and for all project, and sometimes Bazel, but we're going to go with the Maven, which is the main use. Do you want to have a JHipster registry? It's not really needed for the monolithic application because it's mainly for microservices, so we're going to go say no. Do we need other stuff like Elasticsearch, WebSocket, Kafka, APA first development with OAS? I don't need that. I don't need anything of that, so I'm just going to go with that. Which framework I want to use for the front end? I'm going to go with Angular. Do I want to generate an admin UI to do some monitoring, to admin the users and stuff? Yes, I do want. What Bootstrap theme I want? I just want the default. I don't really care. Internationalization, I do care because I'm speaking fluently French, Japanese, and English. So I'm going to go with yes, English. I'm going to put some French and some Japanese. I'm a lot into testing and quality, so I'm going to use as much thing as I want. So I'm going to go with Cypress for end-to-end test. Protractor is deprecated as for Angular 12. Gatling for performance test, and Cucumber for BDD testing. Do I want to install other generators? I don't want to. and then it's going to generate the application. No, not yet. Would you like to generate code coverage for Cypress tests? Yes, I do want. It's going to be useful. You're going to see. So now it's just going to generate a bunch of stuff. I'm not going to show you and wait until it's finished. I'm just going to go through my basic application. So it's just going to be the result of what's going to be generated. So I created several branches. So this is the init branch. And I'm going to teach you a little trick if you don't want to, because it's sometimes like a crazy overhead to go through all the directories in GitHub. So you just add one S after GitHub, and it opens an instance of VS Code. So you can actually see the code of your project easily, and it's quite fun to see that, and it's much easier to go through your project. You can even do some git blame and stuff like this. Okay, so what was generated? So you have the basic application with user, with security, the front end Angular, and something like this. I'm not going to go into details in everything. So you have, for example, in the Java code, you have your repositories. You have like authority for authority management, user management. The domain, you're going to have authority, same user, configuration for Spring configuration, logging, and a lot of things that come out of the box for Liquibase, for Jackson, for a lot of things. AOP for logging, they're using aspect-oriented programming for logging. The security, which is the GWT one. And then we have web services, DTOs, mappers to transform entities into GTO object that's going to be transferred through the REST API. And then we have, this is for the backend part. For the web app part, so the Angular one, we have all the internalization management. So we have EN, FR, GA. I don't know if you actually see, because I cannot see the up. I'm just going to go through this. So you have your app, and you have basically all the stuff that Angular is generating. So everything in TypeScript, of course. So basically, that's it for the main part. I'm just going to go back to the console and see if it's finished generating the thing. Did finish? Did it? It's not finished yet. So we're going to go actually to the project I opened. I have my instance of the project running on IntelliJ. I'm just going to switch branch. I'm just going to go to the init branch and check out, so we can fiddle with that. What we want to do is actually, so we generate the project. This is the main thing. I put that on my repo so you can see exactly what configuration we did. Now, it also generated Docker images for what we want to use, for example, for the Postgres database and some other things. So right now we want to launch our application. So what do we want to do? So we have here. So it's back. It's the init branch. So it's basically just what was generated right now. So I'm gonna launch the Postgres database, because I need to make it up. Even though I'm a development, I need to have my Postgres running. So I'm just gonna throw out the Docker container, which is a Docker Compose Docker image. So I'm just gonna do that. Oh, sorry, it's just a mess. So it's just Docker Compose -f. You're just gonna, will believe me, like this main, all the Docker images are in there. And here we have the Postgres one, Postgres app -d, and then it's gonna launch the Docker container for the Postgres. So now we can actually launch the website, the web application, just by doing executing the mvn command, mvnw, because it's the wrapper. So it's just gonna execute, compile the backend, compile the front end, and just we're gonna be able to see the application on port 8080, which is gonna be here. It's from right now it's running, so we're gonna have to wait a bit. What do I need to say? I don't have much time and a lot of things to say. What? Just let me check something. So yeah, I'm running the project locally right now. Once once the project is going to be running, we're going to have to generate the schema, the database schema that we want. So let's see. The schema, for the schema, we actually have something that JHipster is providing us. It's called JDL Studio. And you basically, it's JDL stands for JHipster Domain Language. And it's basically JSON where you describe your entities as your table and your database. And it's going to be generating everything, your services, your MVC, your REST, your controllers, your entities, your DTOs. You're going to use MapStruct to be able to generate, to transform the entity, the JPA entity into DTOs. You're going to use service with service implementations, and you define also the relationship between all those blocks, like the to-do task. We have a one-to-one between the to-do list and the user. We have a many-to-one between the to-do and the category, etc., etc. So with that, once you generated this, you just have to download it. So I downloaded it, and then let's go back to check what's happening in the console. I'm pretty sure it should be finished now. Yeah, it is finished. So now it's finished here. And did it finish to, yeah, so now our application is running on localhost 8080. So you have here the JHipster standard page. Well, I'm already logged in because my credentials were already registered. It's generating, so you have nothing yet because no entity was generated, but you have your user and stuff. You actually, that's the basic one. And we're just going to go with that for now. Now I'm going to show you how you actually use the JDL that we generated. So you just do JHipster. And actually, I copied the JDL file before, and you just do JDL and the JDL file. And it's called to do demo JDL. And it's actually going to generate that. I'm just going to stop the application for now because it's gonna yell at me otherwise. So now it's actually generating all of those entities, services, controllers, REST API, documentation, monitoring, everything just from just a config file that you generated. And it's so yeah, you have conflict. You just need to override the stuff, liquid-based routing, components. So now it's going to recompile everything. It's going to generate the new entities. It's going to use Liquibase to inject fake data in the database. It's generating the browser stuff, the bundle. So now it's compiling the Angular application. We already have that, but it's doing it again. Basically, after that, once the GGL is generated, so this is the one, I applied it to the schema, to the application, and then I will run again the project locally. So that's what we're going to do now. We're going to see if it's finished. It's not finished, but I do have my second branch here, which is init JDL, and which is up to date with the JDL. So we can just switch branches, and we're going to launch again the one we just did. So it's going to compile, and it's going to generate the whole, it's going to just launch the Angular instance, the backend, and we're going to have all the to-do lists, the categories, the tags, and everything. I'm pretty sure I'm going really fast, and maybe you will have questions. But everything, all the steps that I took to build this project is described in my POC, my MVP that is on my GitHub account, so you can see what step I've done and everything that I've done. And JHipster have a pretty good documentation, so you can find a lot of things about that. So it's just generating, it's just gonna compile and launch the application. I have another thing that I want to do is actually, once this is generated, we're gonna have, we have the possibility actually to not execute, generate the project inside locally, but you can actually deploy it into a Docker image that you can after upload to the Docker Hub if you want. So this is quite easy to do actually. You just have to, I'm not gonna do it because it's taking time. You just, everything is bubble. So you just do run java docker dev npm, and it's basically just doing an mvn ntp verify, which is just packaging the application. You skip the test and you use Gib Docker build. Gib is a Maven plugin that's going to generate the Docker image. Once the Docker image is generated, you just have to do a Docker compose on app.yaml. This app.yaml was generated when we generated the JHipster project. So everything is done for you. You don't have to do anything. So now let's hope the generation is over. It was not there. Yeah. Okay. So now we have this. Now we have entities with like dummy data, everything, categories, to-do list. You can edit stuff. You can choose the user you want. You have like a bunch of stuff like generated by Liquibase. In administration, you can check the metrics. The metrics is actually really, really nice to see. It's based on Micrometer and the Spring Boot actuator to monitor the JVM. So you have the heap size, the garbage collector activity, the file log, the CPU usage, the RAM, and a lot of things like the HTTP requests. You can also do health checks and see how the database is. And you can check the logs actually because it's using log4j. Well, it's taking time to get the logs, but they're here. So this is basically all the logs that the application generated, all the application logs. So you can see that you have already a lot of stuff, and you have the Swagger API, which is amazing because it's already generated. You have your API. You can just check whatever you want. So you have a fully built documentation that you can share with your team and stuff. That's amazing. Also about the language, I told you. Well, it's not going to translate the URL, of course, but you can change the language out of the box. Well, you of course have to translate it yourself, but that's another matter. So now let's continue on that. The Swagger documentation we just saw. So this is it. Application monitoring, I show you what was that about. Authentication, it's using JWT. Yeah, I'm going to get it. Because Spring Security doesn't support JWT out of the box. So it's an implementation that doesn't use Spring Security. So now about the tests and the quality. We have the backend tests, which are using JUnit Cucumber, JUnit for all the unit tests, the integration tests, the architecture test, and Cucumber for the BDD tests. So in order to do that, you just have to go to your backend, and I'm just going to check it again here. Just gonna do MVN verify, and it's just gonna execute all the tests for you. So you have approximately 156 tests with a 80% coverage of your code. And it's this is just for the backend. The front-end unit tests are executed with another command that I will show you after. And it's not working because, oh, well, maybe, huh? Well, that's, because, yeah, I understand why. Because I'm not on the right one. I need to change my branch to the main branch, because I have my Gatling tests which are messing up with my stuff. So I'm just going to do it again. Well, there's nothing much to show except like you have your Java test here. No, not here, sorry. Here you have your Java tests. For example, services, DTOs, mail service, category DTO test, mail user IT, everything that finishes by IT is an integration test. Arc test is an architecture test. It's basically checking that no layers is depending on another layer that it shouldn't. Cucumber is fun. Cucumber is as a natural language description for scenarios and tests for BDD using the Gaetan. So basically, you have a scenario when I search user admin, then the user is found and his last name is administrator. Then you just implement this test. And it's just a way to define test using this. It's quite common to use that right now. So now it's just generating tests. So let's move on the presentation. So yeah, this is so for the front-end test, it's using Jest out of the box. You could have used Jasmine because it's really used in the usually when you do Angular by default you do test bed and it's using Jasmine, but they choose to use Jest, and I think it's better. That's just my opinion. So basically, to launch the test, you just have to do npm test, and it's just gonna do ng test actually, which is Angular test. So npm test. Just running it for the fun because so now the backend tests are starting. Well, it's taking time. So it's launching the architect arch test in the backend. Here it's doing some linting. Oh, I just have 10 minutes left. Okay, let's move on. So you can do front-end test. You have E2E test with Cypress, so you just have to run E2E or run Cypress to do that. I'm not going to show it because I don't have time. You can do performance tests with Gatling. So you can see on my repository, actually, you just do MD. I just added a Maven plugin with Gatling install, and it's just gonna, the tests are defined in Scala using the Scala language. And so, or maybe we can just see, because the Gatling tests are already generated, and I'm gonna show them to you. Actually, they're like this. This is the Gatling report that you get. So it's basically just a stress and performance test, like get created to-do list. Like it has done 15 requests, and all of the tests have been under 800 milliseconds. You can see the peak, the response time. You can see everything. It's just basically testing the REST API quite aggressively, authentication and a lot of different things. For the Cypress stuff, it's actually this. No, this is Cypress is just like the E2E test. I can show them to you. Well, what's that? Okay, oh, that doesn't matter. Seems to be having a problem with What? Okay, never mind. We have, so now that we have generated, I'm not gonna run the Cypress test because it's not working right now, but it's just basic command line, and you're gonna do this. So you just run Cypress and it's just gonna do that. Performance test with Gatling. You can, I'm actually gonna check that. You can also test, since now our backend is running, if we want to do just test the UI, it's going to use Webpack and launch browser sync in order to like reflect your change immediately when you change something. For example, we have this page locally executed, if it's there. Yeah, it's there. Here I want to change something on my page. And, well, I have to wait for that to be okay. So now Webpack is like bundling everything. It's just like doing some optimization and serving on localhost. Not using. It's actually not going to use the same port. It's going to use. Wait. Yeah. So you have. It's going to do on localhost 8, and you see browser sync is connected. So now you can check. Actually, sign in. I'm going to do admin. And now we're just going to have fun and check something like, for example, on the web app, we're going to change the, I don't know, maybe just one message in English. Home.json, home.json. Question if you welcome Java hipsters. Let's say welcome Kotlin hipsters. Okay, so now it should detect the change and it should reflect it here. Immediately, it should be doing this. Should. Unless it's not the one. Should have done it actually. Oh yeah. Well, it should have uploaded immediately, but I had to refresh the page. So now we have Kotlin hipster here instead. So moving on, we here now the QA. So I'm going to pass quickly on the rest. You have a Docker image built in on SonarQube, which you can just like do a Docker compose, and the image is just gonna execute, and then you do a clean verify sonar and like this stuff, this line of code, and then it's just gonna build in production the code and test everything and generate the sonar report. And the sonar report is going to look like this. I already generated beforehand. It's this. So we have like, this is basically, it's including front-end and back-end. So we have a bit of cut smell, 4 hours dead for like a 13K lines of code generated. I think that's not a lot. So the maintainability is pretty really nice. We have 82% cut coverage, which is really great. So here now, let's continue on the presentation. QA also, you can do a verify to check the OWASP vulnerabilities on dependencies. It's not built into JHipster, so you have to add a Maven plugin. You can check my repo, it's in. So it's basically this plugin dep check, and it's just checking the dependencies. So now the interesting part is the CI/CD thing. This one is kind of cool because it's all gonna generate automatically your pipeline with what you want. So I'm gonna show you an example with here. I'm gonna do JHipster CI/CD, and it's going to ask me which CI/CD tool I want to use. So there is either Jenkins, Azure, GitLab, GitHub Actions, Travis CI, Circle CI. I'm going to use GitHub Actions. What do I want to do? Deploy your application to Artifactory? I don't want to. I want to analyze my code with Sonar. I don't want to publish a Docker image. I don't want to use Snyk. Snyk is same, as I said, to check the vulnerability for the dependencies. I want to deploy to Heroku, and I want to enable the Cypress dashboard. So basically, when you do that, well, you have to tell your Sonar Cloud URL. Then you just you continue with all the configuration. All the configuration is pretty straightforward. I'm not going to go with everything. Is that I'm just going to show you actually the pipeline that was generated. So here we have tech. I'm just going to go back here on the main page. And we have this action. It's normal that it's not passing, but yeah, here, this is all the build that I've executed. So let's check one. So all the steps that are defined in here for the CI/CD, it's checking out the repo. It's installing the Node.js package, running the backend test, running the frontend test, generating the SonarQube. So we have that on Sonar Cloud, actually, here. So it's like sending all the code there and using cloud platform analysis. Where is that? It's here. And also, it's going to do some package the application. If the SonarQube gate is passing, then it's going to package. So it's going to just build the jar, the fat jar, because it's a fat jar with Spring Boot application with the Angular application. It's going to deploy it to Heroku that I set up previously. So I have my Heroku deployment here, actually. I'm going to open the app, and you're going to see, well, Heroku have a cooldown time, so it's going to take just a little bit of time before it's open. And once it's deployed to Heroku, it's going to run the Cypress tests. And for that, I also have a Cypress on the cloud client, which is using it, which I overloaded already my free tier. But with that, you have some continuous integration and continuous deployment on Heroku every time you do a pull request or every time you do a new push on the main branch with the GitHub Actions. And so you have a full-fledged deployed application with tests, with quality, with everything. So you can see now I basically have like my quality gate is passed, my coverage is for 82%, my Cypress tests are passed, and then on Heroku.gbloch geekall to do Heroku app, I have my application. I'm going to sign in. It says admin. And then it's the same as the other one, except that I don't have the fake data because it's in production. I just put some random data here. If you want to create a new to-do list, you just basically do something like this. Save, well, and whatever, yeah. Or because you cannot do that, well, there's a problem. Anyway, the thing is that it's deployed on Heroku and it's working fine. Last thing, so now the application is fully deployed. You can go further with that because I've just talked about a monolithic application, but you can do crazy stuff with the JHipster. It's supporting microservices, API gateway. You can put some ELK stack, monitoring not orchestrating your microservices and your micro front ends, using different sort of database, NoSQL database, JHipster, and you can do a lot of stuff. This schema was not done by me. I think it was done by Deepu. And so you can do pretty crazy stuff with that out of the box and with not a lot of tweaking. So I recommend you go to this website, startjhipster.tech, and you can do everything. You can do everything I did, but on their platform, or you can just do all the steps I've done there. Everything is on my repo, and if you have any question, don't hesitate to contact me on my social network and everything. I can explain everything to you. Thank you all for listening. I hope I wasn't too long and it wasn't too quick, but thank you.